your number one advice as a Vegas enthusiast
Okay.
to someone who maybe hasn't visited Vegas and will for the first time?
So my number one advice is actually stolen from another podcast, High and
Okay.
Mighty.
Shout out High and Mighty.
Yeah, Adam Pally is one of the guests that'll come on with John Gabris, is the host, and they've done like 7 Vegas, like going to Vegas conversations.
Yeah.
And the best one I had ever heard was every time you're in Vegas, plan big dinners, especially if you're with like a couple people, like a good group, or you're with your partner or whatever. Make sure you go to a really nice dinner every night, because if you're like a degenerate, like if you're coming to Vegas, you're probably wanting to gamble, right? Like, and if you're not, don't come here. You don't need to.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing so great.
I mean, there's a lot of shows.
There's stuff to do, but like, come on.
Yeah. All right.
But what you want to do is you have that meal that takes like 2 hours, right? And then that's basically effectively saving you money. Because let's say it's like
save money by spending money is what you're saying.
It's like $200 a person. Let's say you go to really like the nicest restaurant.
It's like a bougie place,
right? You spend 2-3 hours there. You can lose way more than that, way quicker in Vegas casinos.
Oh, so you're talking like time,
time away from the casino. Yeah. Like, and there is like that higher level of food in Vegas. Like, it's such a difference between
food here. There is
okay food in Vegas that still costs a lot of money. Like, like $30 for like an entree.
The mid food here is terrible for the value. Yeah.
But then you go to those higher value ones, and that's really where you get
your money's worth.
Honestly, it's not even that bad when you think about it in Vegas. Like, because you're like, okay, $150 per person, like for a 3-hour meal, bunch of. You remember what we did? That we went to that meat place,
Andros Bazaar. Bazaar. Yeah.
And that was not that expensive, and we all ate. So much food.
It was crazy. It was so good.
So much.
So
food.
that's what it is. All right.
Food.
Spend money on food.
And
it's so expensive, but yeah.
And then you don't have to have the nicest hotel.
No.
Because you will not be in the hotel that often. So really think about your hotels based on location.
Call ahead and make sure all their elevators are working.
That's true. We are in the Rio, and it was a mistake. I'll say that.
Well, last time we were at the Luxor, and it was also a mistake. So.
And you know what? That pissed me off because I wanted to like it. I wanted to like the Pyramid Hotel, but it was really, truly terrible. It was a terrible
This is
hotel.
the DMGT podcast. I am your host, Danny.
And I'm Spencer.
And we are at CES for Las Vegas. We're not here just for fun. We're at CES, baby.
Danny's actually prohibited fun.
Yeah, no, honestly, he's kind of mad at me that I said, like, hey, this is kind of a work trip. So focus up give me 2 nights. Give me 2 nights. This is the second night. And you can see in his face, he's very annoyed.
I'm trying my best.
And I appreciate that. We're here as media and press for the first time. So this is just going to be a little bit of our impressions of CES, seeing all the tech here, being what it's like being here for a work conference, technically. But it's also a little bit of fun. It's also a lot of fun. We do this for fun anyways. We were doing this for fun before, for solid 2 years.
This is just like we're huge nerds, and this is like one of the nerd meccas, I would say.
It really is. So CES is, for those that aren't aware, I mean, I'll just do a quick intro there, is a consumer electronics show. And it has been running for 100 years now. This is the 100th year that I didn't know.
They're not like pushing it as much as I thought.
No. They have like these signs.
Will say
the signs are 100 years,
like,
but they're not pushing it as hard.
Yeah.
But that's very cool that it happens to be our first CES.
Yeah.
And it's also 100. Pretty cool.
Now it'll be easy for us to count how many times we've gone. So we started at 100. So, like similar to being born in 90, I was always like, oh, when I'm 10, that's 2000. That's easy.
Yeah.
And now I just have to add 10.
Quick maths.
Yeah.
Number one, quick maths.
To figure out what age I am. I'm just like Blink-182.
So I think I've kept an eye on, and we've both kept an eye on CES for quite a long time. Like I follow it every year, but it's kind of cool to like be here in person, and just like see some of the bleeding edge stuff and stuff that they've already announced, but like things that we've seen online that we've talked about before. To like see it physically ourselves, I think has been really cool.
It's like, and I think you'll understand this. It's like going to the world's biggest and coolest Best Buy
Yes.
that you can't buy anything at.
Right.
But it really feels like that because I used to just like go into Best Buy as like a kid or a teen, and like my parents would be like, "All right, so like go look around, I
Yep.
guess. Like we're
Yep.
just gonna chill here." And then it's basically that, but like you get to touch even more things.
It's very fun.
There's just so much to do. So I would say we spent what it was 6 hours today.
Yeah, 6 hours
walking
today
around.
at the Central Convention Center. So this is where all the big displays and exhibits are. So we will talk about some of the announcements and some of the things that we've seen and our impressions there. But like the big stuff was like the LG big exhibits, Hisense, TCL, and then like a lot of the car manufacturers too. So you get like Honda, your Hondas, and like your other GMs, like just doing all the new car tech stuff that they're doing. We barely did some of that, but we really stayed focused on the consumer electronics side. Sony's area was massive.
Yeah.
Samsung's area had a huge line to get in before we didn't actually go in there.
We might get to it, but also it's like I don't like that they're like the only one of all the big players of like display technology
Yeah,
to be doing that.
yeah, that they're limiting how many people can come in.
To be
Yeah.
honest, it doesn't need to be that.
Probably not.
Based on what you could like peek in and see. I'm like they're just letting less people in. That's it.
Yeah,
That's,
yeah,
it's
that's
just,
all it
it's
is.
Like,
That's all it is.
That's all.
Which is so weird because they did announce what did they announce? They had the transparent the Bali, but they also had the transparent micro LED TV. They're the first ones that have the micro LED,
The micro.
transparent, which they announced on Sunday night. And they had we missed. It's like we went to the press conferences on Monday. So this is how it works out: press conferences on Monday, and this is basically just like exclusively media, and it's all like whatever you would see on a press release, a blog post, and things like that. This is where they're announcing a lot of this stuff. A lot of it felt like a company on
Yeah.
hands, I will
Yeah.
say. Some of it was cool to like see how they were approaching it and directly from their mouths, but a lot of it was also like, oh, you're just like fluffing and tooting your own horn rather.
Yeah.
Horn. I don't know why I said
Hey,
horn.
you're tooting your horn.
Tooting your horn. And yeah, some of it just felt like a company all hands that wasn't quite as fun. And we will say Samsung's was pretty rough.
Samsung's was bad. Like that's kind of why I'm pissed off about their line even more. Like if it was a cool press conference,
Yeah.
I would be excited to stay in that line. But I think the problem with consumer technology right now is with the advent of AI,
Yeah.
every company has to talk about how they have AI. Like in every company. If you're a company that has any technology, you have to talk about something about your company that is using quote unquote AI.
Right.
The problem with Samsung's press release or press conference is they talked a lot about the letters A and I. But I would say they
Yeah.
gave me
Oh,
no
man.
indication about anything that they were actually doing with it, other than, to be honest, like looking back at my notes, I think I wrote like, is Samsung's approach to AI effectively just we want to have more oversight into your life to quote unquote make things better for
That's
you?
effectively all AI at this point.
Right. It's just machine learning, and that's another thing. It's like AI is not what like people are throwing around AI in so many different ways, and like with Samsung, I was just like, do you even know what you're doing with it? Like, do you all know?
I'm glad that you brought that up because one of my thoughts going like in their conference was it feels like all their services are very fragmented right now and they're trying to consolidate, but they don't know exactly how to do it. Because I heard SmartLink quite a few times. I heard what's some of the other services?
Bixby? Don't they have Bixby?
Bixby, that's right. Bixby is like their AI assistant.
Mhm.
And then they went into
Tizen OS.
Tizen OS, their phone OS, their TV OS, and then like
Well,
some of
Tizen's their TV OS,
but then like their appliance stuff too was like
which is smart home
or
smart thing. Yeah, so it's like
there's
all over the
quite
place.
all over the place, which didn't help the keeping a through line there. But then They didn't bring up the transparent micro LED that they announced.
Unless it was in the
At
last
all.
like 3 minutes, because we did leave a little
a
tiny bit
little
early.
tiny bit early.
But I can't imagine.
And then they completely glossed over
the coolest thing that they had.
thing that they probably should have spent more time talking about.
So they literally, like, people are literally falling asleep in
Truly,
this press
like,
conference.
there
Like, we're
are
seeing
people
people
literally
nod
falling
off.
asleep.
And it's only like 2 p.m. It wasn't like the end of the day.
It was
kind of the middle.
yeah.
People are nodding off. And then maybe it's 10 seconds. They just go,
If
oh, by the way, we have the first completely wireless 8K short throw projector, basically ready to go. You can mount it ceiling or floor. And then they're like, all right, but we didn't even say that part. They were just like, yeah, and there's this 8K projector. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, and then they completely moved on.
And then they never talked
there
about it
were
again.
reactions from the crowd. They were like, wow, like,
Yeah.
what is...
Samsung's, the reason that Samsung's was so bad was because there was obviously moments where in the teleprompter,
Yeah,
there was pause for applause,
and
because they just were like,
they were like
spending all their time on AI, but then they were also like, and we love the Earth. And it's like pause for people loving that we love the Earth.
So here's the thing. Companies, like, whenever they bring up sustainability and ethical responsibility, you got to stop. I understand why from a marketing and PR standpoint. But right now, they specifically went, and I'm going to go there for a second. They specifically went to the good and positive things that they're doing in Africa specifically. And I think that is such a poorly timed thing to do, to then completely ignore all the problems that's happening with, like, cobalt mining.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, and now you're
performative.
welcoming all that criticism by specifically targeting, like, hey, here's all the stuff that we're doing with education and our tech in Africa specifically. I don't know, it just feels like tone deaf, and they're not understanding.
We're ragging
like,
on Samsung.
Yeah,
but
we are ragging on Samsung.
The quote of the night that was like the most yucky corporate to me was the Sony press conference.
Sony's press conference.
Because it was not good. Like, it was not a good. It was like, what are you?
It was
didn't
just
even
ads.
tell us anything.
It was just ads.
Yeah.
So it was basically ads the entire time.
But the thing that I think it was the CEO said, I wrote it down, and it was, Sony has always been a company for good. And I'm like, what? Like, what? No. Like, a company, no.
And look, we're PlayStation people here.
Yeah.
We're PlayStation gamers here.
But a company that big,
Like, just,
so it's like, no. You've never, no. Like, that's, you can't say that.
it's ridiculous. So the press conference stuff, I will say, my least favorite part of CES so far. But that's also where you get, like, you have to, like, you're basically just hoping you get fished or you get fed a little bit of that bait of, like, the big announcement, and then, like, you wait to see it on the showroom floors.
Yeah.
Starting on Tuesdays. We got very little of that, I'd say, on Monday.
Yeah, they were not worth the time. Really. Except, I would say TCL, Hisense.
TCL was great. Hisense was great. TCL in particular, I think.
TCL was good. They
like,
tried to have some fun with it. But then TCL and Hisense, they both talked about their shit.
Yeah,
like they tangible. Actually were like, hey, here's what we're doing.
Here's our
the
TVs.
Upgrades. Like,
here's the upgrades. Right. Here's, like, some other, like, TCL's, what was it? Next Page, something like that.
NXT, yeah, Next Paper. Display technology that's supposed to be better on your eyes. Though technically, it's not even new. It's the second year that they've, like, been pushing it,
right.
Which is, I think, part of this particular CES. Like, I was thinking about how I think a lot of the vibes of CES this year online are not a lot of new shit.
Yeah,
like a lot of just, like, iterative stuff. And I think it's because it's like, if you think about,
last year was first year back live in person since COVID. So.
But you think about, like, how video games, I feel like, was more ready to work from home, and, like, So that's why like 2023 was such a banger year for video games because all of the pandemic stuff finished up. I feel like next year is where the catch up in
On the
physical
side.
tech
Yeah,
side, like device tech,
because there,
will be
all the physical manufacturing that has to occur.
like
That,
there's
like it's
so
different
much
from
that
software
couldn't
in the game.
happen.
Yeah. So conferences, all of that. That's our impressions there. TCO had a good time. They brought out like they had Carissa Thompson. I forgot.
I don't know
already
any of
forget.
those people.
Okay, so they
yeah.
had some NFL like it's
Analysts.
analysts that do Thursday Night Football primetime on Amazon, and then they also work with Fox as well, which was super cool. And at the displays, at the exhibits today, they
had a bunch
they
of
leaned
footballers,
in. They had
yeah.
a bunch of footballers. Bo Jackson was in attendance. He was taking photos with people. They had like this whole football field thing set up, which was really cool. We saw Paul Pierce and Richard Jefferson at
Just at the Hisense kitchen area, just like cooking
doing appliance
steaks.
stuff. They were making steaks.
Very weird.
It was so fun.
Couldn't hear a word they were saying, but
Not
they
at all. Not at
were
all.
having a good time.
They were having a good time.
And I will say, Richard Jefferson's head is as round as I've ever seen a head.
You know, if I post that clip on TikTok, he will probably respond.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing. He has an extremely spherical head. Is that a bad thing?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
It's
like
gets the people
everyone,
going.
like you always are like, you know, if you ever go bald, you hope your head's not like lumpy. His head is not lumpy.
No, it's not. It's not. It's it's a nice bald head.
It's a great bald. I mean, it is fucking waxed up. Shiny as heck.
Shiny, you know, got that polish going.
Well, his is like the he doesn't have any anti-glare on his screen, let's say.
Oh man. All right, let's get into some of the stuff that we got into and our hands on, because there's quite a bit. Monitors, TVs, so much racing, like
too
car
much
setups. Too much, I'd say.
Too much car setups. That's not interesting anymore. Those have existed for like 20 years.
So here's what was interesting to me, because I think the theme so far at this CES, at least from like what they're announcing and what they're talking about outside of like, you know, they're upgrading monitors, new monitors and things like that. A lot of focus on providing services and software to vehicles and your experience inside a car and behind the wheel. And there seem to be conflicting messages with how the different approaches were, because it seemed like every major electronics components maker, your LGs, your Hisenses, your Sonys, Samsung, all basically like latched on to a car manufacturer and said, we are building the thing for them. So there's a couple of things happening there, because if you haven't heard, I think it was there's a couple of car manufacturers who want to pull away from incorporating CarPlay, Google and Apple's.
Yeah, basically they don't want to do they want infotainment to be outsourced.
Yeah. And so one of the excuses they used was like, hey, we're pulling away from this because causing too many car accidents. People are too distracted because they have this nice display. Also, by the way, we're partnering with this electronics manufacturer
to make 25,000 more displays in the car.
So many displays.
Everything becomes
in your
a display.
Car. It's insane. I will say LG's, I think, was probably the most flagrant.
LG's was like, we want you to watch Netflix while you're driving. Like that
insane.
was their fucking takeaway. It was insane.
We have 4 or 5 screens in your car.
The whole dash is a screen. Like it was. I'm like, I think the thing about sometimes where we are with technology and kind of what CES is like telling me this year is we're grasping at straws of what we need. You know, like we don't need our cars to be also our houses in terms of the connectivity we have.
Well, I think there's also the aspect of like, how can we actually make AI functional for consumers? Because this is the consumer's electronics showcase, right? So it's all about like focusing like, how can we get the masses on our side or using our thing? I will say at least the one positive about Samsung's presentation is their implementation of software and AI in their vehicles was more about the function of getting you where you need to be and only showing you utility things.
Yeah, like it was safety forward.
And safety forward, minimizing distractions. Yeah. So that's where like that clash is happening, I think, a little bit here.
Well, I think the confusing thing is like when you're in your current car now, right? So many things that your car can do in its infotainment system is when it is in drive, or like when you're in drive, you can't use it. And like that is, I think, regulated by the
Yes.
government. It's
Yes.
not their choice. So like they're pitching, hey, you can have like Netflix on the passenger side, or this like more control of this, the seat back stuff or whatever. And I'm like, you're not going to be able to use that, because that is literally, it's like, have you ever been around a TV where you're not planning to watch TV, but a TV's on? What do? You just start watching
You
it.
start watching.
That will be the exact same thing if Netflix is,
Yeah.
it's only on the passenger side. Yeah, and I can see it.
It's I think I understand, like, because this is all conceptual too, and like they're basically prototyping like what it could solve for. I think eventually, because there's an increased want and like focus on like self-driving vehicles. Like, okay, what do you do if you're behind?
A lot of them did
being
not
driven.
have in their what they showed, no steering wheels.
So I
There
think
was almost no steering
so I
wheels
think
in their
that's
concept
I think
stuff they
that's the
showed.
future they're trying to like push towards.
Yeah.
Whereas in the meantime, I will say some of the AI stuff, because there's also so much AI talked about and so much AI presented at CES this year, is stuff that I'm not upset at. Stuff like, hey, we're gonna be tracking like when it's probably time to reorder groceries,
Yeah.
or the Roombas and the robot vacuum cleaners are getting smarter. They're detecting like the floor surface and which room you're in, and kind of adjusting like how it's cleaning based on the space,
Right.
to make things easier, your home chores and stuff like that. Some of that stuff, you know what, fine. Those are like chores and things. Fine, automate all of that. I'm not upset about that. That's actually, you're not removing from like the arts, and I think they try to like stay away from like focusing on that side of it, which is ironic because SAG-AFTRA literally just announced, as we were coming back to the hotel, that they have reached an agreement with AI voices for voice acting and acting. And people are not super happy about that. And it's very interesting, and I think very intentional, that they kind of like announced that a little bit under the radar, rather than making this like big rah-rah thing like they are with everything else that they're talking about with AI.
Yeah. I mean, it's I think the thing about AI is every press release we saw, press conference we saw, like all of the conversation about it was effectively them saying, we'll regulate ourselves about it, don't worry.
Right.
And I'm like, and it's just, it just feels so gross when all these companies are saying, like, every company mentioned democratize.
Ooh, I think that was my least favorite thing. I think that was
Democratize.
my least favorite word of the week so far.
Because they're saying what AI will do is democratize. I'm like, no, what AI will do is destroy the job market. It will rebuild something, but the first part is it will destroy it. And we don't have a good track record as a humanity of correctly dealing with these types of insane leaps of what labor means.
I will say it is very frustrating and hard to like, because I'm really excited that we're here.
Yeah.
But also, like, as social consumers, as much as we try to be as well, it's like it's hard to like consolidate these two things, where it's like we know some of this is probably not for the good of people in general, but some of the implementation, I think it can be pretty cool and pretty interesting. And I will say, at least that part is less. I can see more utility on like the home stuff, and like tracking AI in your home and your kitchen chores and all that.
Call your officials and say, hey, we should regulate AI, and also universal basic income should probably like be something we're talking about a lot more in the next 5 to 10.
Well, we're gonna have to keep an eye on that one.
Yeah.
Spencer, what was your favorite thing that we've seen? This episode is brought to you by Samsung.
My favorite thing I've seen at CES thus far, I think the most impressive thing was TCL's
Man, TCL really impressed
mini
us.
LED
TCL really impressed
flagship stuff. So there was, I think it was like a 75-inch screen set up. And the cool thing about CES is it's all nerds. So everyone is doing nerd shit. So me and Danny are looking at this screen, and we had just left the Hisense like flagship area, and like pretty impressed with their 110-inch screen,
Massive,
especially their 8K one was like truly
crazy.
It looks awesome, and like really getting like super close. You can actually be like, no, actually like having double the amount of pixels. It really does make a difference when you're like looking really, really close.
I can't tell the. I can't.
You couldn't find the pixel. You could not
pixels.
find the subpixel but you can see that on the 4K.
Yeah,
really cool to see those right side by side. But then
we saw some blooming on the
Hisense
one, which still looked very impressive. But
but then
TCL.
we get to the TCL, and me and Danny are half an inch away from the screen. Like we are really, and
we're
they
like
did a
getting
great
really
job with what the content they were showing was like a bright white dress, like woman on a completely black background.
Screen. Perfect. It's like they were bragging about it, basically.
And there was legitimately no blooming.
It was insane. It was absolutely insane.
It looked like an OLED. But then it was bright as hell.
It was so bright. What did they say? 20,000?
10,000 nits on regular content is what they said. No, sorry, that was Hisense. That was Hisense. That one had just a shitload of dimming zones.
20,000 dimming zones. Just because mini LED can be manufactured so much cheaper and faster than OLED can. I was on the fence about like it really taking over OLED because I have an LG,
and it's a great TV.
And it's a fantastic TV. I love it.
Beautiful.
The OLED, incredible. I have converted. Mini LED is 100% going to take over the consumer market. It's just cheaper. It's more accessible. You can get them bigger. It's not quite there yet on the price point, but it's about to. It's about to, especially on the flagship side.
I think the thing
because the mid-range is already taken over.
Well, that's the thing. I think the thing that OLED has done such a good job of is the marketing of it as no matter what you hear, OLED is the best, right? Like, because that's been the thing. But now you have like Sony, where they have a flagship that I think is actually as expensive or more expensive than their OLED flagship. That is mini LED. You have Samsung pushing mini LED pretty hard. You have Hisense all mini LED, and same with TCL. I think the crazy thing about TCL is we're at their huge area.
Yeah.
And TCL has a ton of OLED monitors. And they don't do any OLED TVs.
Yeah, that was interesting.
It's super interesting to see them. They mess around with OLED.
They do. And it's going to be interesting. Tomorrow we're going to be at the space where like all the gaming monitors and like the PC gaming side of things and just general desktop computing technology is. We're going to see a lot more monitors there. I'm going to be interested to see if like they have setups there, what the OLEDs look like, because their monitors looked great. Honestly, there was this weird like concave. It was like curved, but dome curved. So it was like curved vertically.
It was kind of like
and curved horizontally as well.
Yeah. It was like
so like the
like
4 points were like
pinched.
Pointed towards you.
Yeah. And it looked really good.
It was very strange. Like once you got like I set myself up and like got really in the center, you have to be centered and it looks super immersive. It's almost like it's almost mimicking the 360.
Monitor,
It's almost mimicking like the ultra wides.
It was very interesting.
360 setups.
And then TCL just had a lot of fun stuff. Like they also had you can choose to make the monitor curved.
Oh yeah,
that was fun. It had like an accordion. Looked like an accordion, like like some pneumatic, like it was wild.
Yeah, and then like the 57-inch
ultra wide,
super ultra wide.
It was
comical.
Insane.
It was comical, but it was awesome. It was awesome.
What was your favorite thing you've seen? I know the TCL. I might have stolen it, but
no, the TCL one was super cool. Honestly, like seeing firsthand the transparent OLEDs, the LGs.
It was freaky.
It was trippy. Trippy. It's actually quite impressive how like pleasant the viewing experience is for it being transparent.
I mean, even when it doesn't have the curtain, as they're calling it, the curtain up, it still looked really good just as a transparent screen.
If you really paid attention, you can 100% see through
normal
the
viewing
background.
distance. I don't know how much you're gonna like daytime TV or whatever. Like, I also wonder how it is in daytime.
Fair,
Something that
because it was very dark
it
in
was
that
relatively
area.
dark in that area. There was like a lamp, but nothing like overhead, nothing like hitting hard, nothing towards sunlight for sure.
I will say that I think it's definitely like kind of cool. It's one of those pieces of tech that it's like cool to see,
Yeah.
but it's like, would I ever actually want this or need this? Probably not. I will say, because I want to segue into the portrait
Yes.
stuff too. I understand the appeal as far as like for people that don't want to center their living space around the TV, because typically it's the TV
Yeah.
that you center everything around. That's my entertainment system. But I have seen the sentiments more and more growing online that people are like, I just don't want my space to be dominated by a piece of technology. I want some more greenery. I want some more art. I want some more other things that aren't just like, here's this big black box in my room.
Yeah.
And the transparent
No, I know.
is like, it's sort of appealing to that because you can, the way that the LG's is set up at least, and some of the other ones as well, is set up so almost like a frame.
Yeah.
So like you can set up plants and paintings, pictures, whatever, and it looks a little bit more natural in that sense. But then you have the portrait TVs that I think can fulfill that need at a much more accessible
I
price
think
point.
that's the thing. Like when it comes to what they're selling with transparent TVs, they're selling, hey, you won't even notice it's a TV.
Mhm.
And I'm like, well, but what you will have is a TV sized hole in whatever is where you put it. Because yeah, you could put some stuff on that bottom part, but it's not like you'd have like a bunch of shelves
No,
where it comes, because there is the screen that has the curtain that has to come up. So I don't think you like, maybe there's a
right.
way you could put some shelving behind it, but and really make it look like that. But then at the same point, there is a partition to that thing as well.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I don't know. It's almost like one of those, and this is why I was saying like CES overall feels like it's like a little bit this year is like solving problems that don't really exist.
Yeah.
Because if you are someone that does not want a TV to ruin your design aesthetic, and you really, really care about that, in my opinion,
Don't get
you
a
would
TV.
just not have a TV.
Yeah.
I know plenty of people that just don't
Or
have
just get a
TVs.
smaller one, or just get a
Yeah,
smaller one.
they're more like, no, I don't need my TV. Like, if anything, you know, they have like a 16-inch laptop, and that's fine. Like, if they really don't want that aesthetic. But then I also, when it comes to the hiding your TV while still having it, the problem is solved almost as well with the Samsung frame. But then now we have Hisense getting into the game, and that was probably my second favorite thing, was just how freaky it was to be like, that does look like a matte painting.
It's Hisense's portrait. The TVs were the setup that they had with like actual paintings and then their own TVs. I will say the lighting that they set up,
They juiced it.
was nailed
sure.
it. They juiced it up.
They
for
did
sure,
a really
the front
good job.
lighting, but they nailed it because
Super
some of them I was
impressive.
like, oh, is that a TV too? Oh shit, no, that's actually just a painting.
It was super impressive.
It was very impressive. We got footage that we'll share, obviously. So make sure to subscribe to YouTube, DMGT. Also follow us on TikTok. You know what it is.
You got
it. It was super
Also,
cool to
really
see.
quick, if enough people are watching this on YouTube, tell us in the comments, like, do you give a shit about, is your TV a TV in your space? Like, is this something that solves a problem for you?
No, the answer is always going to be no, Spencer. But the point, half the point of CES is just to try shit and then seeing what you learn from that, and it informs other pieces of tech.
Yeah, I also, with how hard LG went on it as their like big ticket thing, I wonder how much it's going to be.
It's going to be minimum 10 grand.
Right, but the way that they were positioning it really felt like they were like, no, we want this to be the TV you buy. Almost.
I don't buy it.
I know.
I think they have to do it.
Like,
I think they just have to do it for CES.
It was intense.
It was a lot.
Shouts out to the SVS booth.
Oh my god, the SVS booth was. Oh man!
If you are
so
at
cool.
CES and you haven't gone to that booth, go into their room. They have just like basically just like office room dividers, creating a room. And they have
It was
two.
great.
They have
It was
two
so good.
subs that are the size of like 6 pieces of luggage. Like it's like they're huge.
They're massive.
They're like this table
This
here, but
tall,
like
but-
that tall, but like 3 wide.
Yeah, make it like a perfect cube.
Like
yeah.
and they had 2 of them, and they played us some clips from Spider-Man, Rammstein, and then they had like a like music thing that they had created specifically to show off the speakers. And
Because it technically was a Dolby Atmos setup, right? Because it didn't.
it was a
have
DTS. The one they were showing was DTS.
Oh, it was.
The
It
one
was.
that they made was DTS.
It was DTS. Yeah.
It blew me away.
It was at the volumes that they have to crank their speakers at CES in the space, because it's
Yeah.
like, you try to put up some
It's a
soundproofing
2 million
walls.
square foot
It's
room
massive.
with
You look up,
100
it's
foot
insane.
tall
It's
ceilings,
industrial
yeah.
space. The resolution was incredible. The clarity on the highs and the mids were
The
incredible.
location, the placement
The
of
placement
everything.
of everything
Everything.
they nailed. SVS, shouts out.
Yeah.
Y'all were great.
That was awesome. That was like, and
We have some footage, and it's just not going to do it justice.
no, it just
It
won't.
just won't.
It just can't. Like it's one of those things where, like a lot of the bigger everything is bigger screen wise,
Yeah.
display wise. Like that's the big thing. That's always what it is. But there's always a little bit of audio stuff that they'll talk about, like Samsung, all of
Yeah,
the TCL. But I mean, like, I'm a person that loves going to the movies. Like, I love going to a movie theater. I think it's like an irreplaceable thing. But with stuff like what SVS does, even like the TCL, the high level TCL
Yeah.
sound bars with wireless height channels and all that stuff, and how big TVs are getting, because we have TCL with 115 inch, we have Hisense with 110 inch, we have Hisense with multiple different projectors. Short throw, we had a ton of short throw projectors.
A lot of
that really
short
looked
throws. Yeah,
incredible.
really good. Really good.
Then we saw the Hisense has an 8K projector.
Yep.
That we saw that was really impressive. And all of this audio technology that we can get our hands on now. I mean, it is making it a hard bargain sometimes to think
Yeah,
about
yeah.
going to the theaters, where if you spend right now, if you
Well.
could, like, let's say you go $5,000, you can have 85-inch TV from a Hisense or a TCL.
Yes.
You can have probably, like the high level sound bar set up with a sub. Some of them even come with 2 subs at like $1,000, $1,200. Like that investment is, what? Not going to the movies for like 10 years, know? But then you're going to have a really good experience.
Yeah,
and
yeah. Especially if you like movies a lot and like that immersive experience.
Yeah.
Like, it's so cool.
It's
so
cool how like controlling your own home's ecosystem of sound and audio, video. It's just fun. Like it's a fun little place to tinker with.
Yeah, I will say it's definitely better if you have a dedicated space for it,
For
because
sure.
Your partners probably wouldn't love the speakers, how massive they are.
Yeah,
but
you
they're
have
cool.
to be underground to have the SVS setup,
Yeah.
like deeply underground.
Your neighbors are for sure going to hear it.
Oh, yeah.
That was super cool. Spencer, you're really into
AR.
specifically. There's a specific range of AR, XR. It's XR now because it's like
Right, XR is all of it.
all of it. All of it. Experiential reality, spatial reality, and computing. Talk to us more about the
X-Reel.
X-Reel, because
So,
you've been on X-Reel for
I've
a
been
while.
on X-Reel for a long time. I've been wanting their device since I saw like something of someone on a plane, like someone was like posting like, what the hell is this person doing?
Right.
Because they just like looked like they were staring into nothing with shades on. And I was like, that seems cool. I want that.
Yeah.
So we got to try the X-Reel, like their newest version, Lite 2 or whatever. And I didn't have, I had to take off my glasses because they have prescription lenses you can get. So I'm like blind as hell without my glasses. And even still, I was just so impressed with like what that ability to like basically it's effectively wearing glasses, which means you don't have the VR problems.
Right.
Which
Right.
like sweaty brow, like just like the
That's a fair point.
tightness
That's a
on
fair
the
point.
feeling
That's a fair point.
of all VR. Even the best VR headsets, like I can only have on for 30 minutes because then I just like it's just like pressure, all the pressure, whatever. So these are just glasses. Like they don't weigh all that much more than these. Like and
No,
these
they're
because these
very
are pretty
lightweight.
big glasses.
They're very lightweight.
And the ability to have that 120 inches of screen real estate. The fact that I was communicating with the employee of XReal, and like talking to them while I'm seeing this video demo that they were showing.
Yeah.
And like that video demo has like pretty good fidelity for
Yeah, it looked. I mean, it was 1080p, but
yeah,
it
but
solid.
like
It looked
for
solid.
like something that is we're talking like $300 for these glasses.
Yeah.
I think it's just really interesting, and I really want to get a review copy of them. But I think I'm most interested in like if we're talking about not having screens, right?
Yeah.
Like if we're like solving that problem, the best way to solve that problem would be to not have to have a TV,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like when
It's
it comes down to it,
I
if,
th-
like what like that literally solves the problem.
I
Now,
think
my TV is glasses.
I think the timing of this is also like really good for like companies like XReal because Apple, like as Apple does, tries to undercut CES every year, announced that the Vision Pro is going to be available starting in February. So in a couple of weeks, you can start pre-ordering that now. So they're like, okay, chugging along. They're proceeding forward after not hearing much about it since he announced
like
it.
6 months.
6 months almost. But spatial computing was like a thing, and like obviously we were in the AR VR area of CES.
That's where we started.
Right. But a lot of companies are still like, you know what? We believe that this is still going to be a market that's going to continue to develop and grow. And I think Apple announcing the Vision Pro and like moving forward with that is only naturally because as love them or hate them, Apple does influence the industry and the space that much. So I think that a lot of companies are going to follow suit, and companies that have been doing this for a while, like Xrio, are going to benefit from that because the price point is so much more accessible. $399, right? For
$399 for their top of the line.
Top of the line.
And I actually think their top of the line, their newest one, I think it's actually 1440p.
That's 10 times cheaper.
And it's like
the
1500 nits like of brightness. Like
it looks good. It looks good.
There was no screen door effect on mine.
I will say, like, this continues to be an area for me that I'm not super.
It's so interesting. It feels like something that you should like. I always say that.
I know,
but I'm very interested in. Regardless, I think 2024 is the year I get some sort of AR something.
Yeah.
Because I also am very interested in the utility of no matter where I am, being able to have. Because I'm a person who I get super stressed out working from not my setup.
Yeah.
Like even just writing blog posts this week on just a laptop, I'm like, I can't have all my things up. Like, you know, because like we've been in the technology industries as our careers since we became adults.
Yeah.
And we've always had these like 2, 3, you know,
a lot
tons of monitors,
lot of visual real estate.
Tons of visual real estate. And to me, like one of the things that I think about is like energy consumption. Like that is a humongous win for these types of glasses because the energy consumption is just my laptop will charge a little bit more.
Yeah.
I'm not powering
a whole standalone monitor.
My whole monitor, 2 monitors, plus my laptop screen, plus my USB hubs, like all of those things that I have to have that going. Just the heat dissipation alone.
That's a fair point. We were talking to the Gigabyte people, and I was like, yeah, my gaming monitor, my PC gaming monitor, hot as hell.
Yeah.
It runs so hot.
Like and like you know, like the big Mac monitors, the ones that we used to work off of in the office. Remember how like those things would like create a circle zone of
heat, like
where
it was
like you could like melt
oven.
chocolate like under your monitor, and like for me, like that kind of stuff, or even literally being here, Think
Yeah.
about that thing, because I brought like a little portable monitor so you could like have an easier time editing some stuff. But imagine if you just popped on glasses, plugged it into your USB-C, and you had everything
I
you
get
need.
it. I get
Like
it.
I think it's the utility of the technology that really, for me, it's like it's
Having
actually
all the
solving a problem that isn't. It's like my setup is fine, and I like my setup that I have. I have a 27-inch, 24-inch, my 13-inch laptop, USB hub to connect everything, so that I can have the 3 screens going. All that's great,
yeah.
but that's also altogether probably 1.5x how much those glasses are.
Yeah. No, it's you're pitching it hard, and I get it. I understand.
Well, I think it's actually solving like a problem, because it also would like reduce the amount of like display waste that we have.
Yeah.
And like I think for stuff like that where it's like, does it need to be a physical thing? Like that's a huge win for like energy consumption in the environment, is like, oh no, if this isn't like, we don't have to power 20,000 dimming zones,
Yeah.
right?
As cool as they are,
and
yeah.
like pump out 10,000 nits of peak brightness or whatever. Like, I feel like that's a good thing. Like we should, instead of always thinking like it has to be physically bigger, like, well, what if like, they create a way of like, hey, you can get like a 4-pack, so everybody in your house, you can still watch a movie together. It syncs up itself. You're sitting on your couch.
You got to go to the restroom. You don't have to pause the movie.
Yeah, it's like that's a shift in how we like consume things, but I don't know. It's always just so interesting to think about what it could be. And hey, shout out to the Google Glass. You had to die so everything else could live.
You know what? The Google Glass was well ahead of its time.
So far ahead of its time. Like, think about when Google Glass came out, and like the people that were like demoing it in the real world were getting like punched in the face because they had a camera.
Yeah.
Like, and just like how that wouldn't even register in today's world.
Well, because you're being recorded all the time, regardless.
Yeah, it's just so like they were that far ahead where like people were still like literally punching the shit out of the people wearing them, and that's why they kind of stopped. They were like, "Oh, the world ain't ready," literally.
Yeah,
like people are getting attacked wearing these glasses.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah,
it's crazy how
it's
much
like, and that's
changed.
like 10 years, right?
Yeah. I will say, micro LED, as much as you said about energy consumption, gets bright as hell, man.
Dude, it hurts your eyes.
It's so insanely bright.
Crazy. It is crazy.
When micro LED gets to a point where mini LED is now, I think it'll be a few years.
Yeah,
it's gonna be nuts. It's gonna be insane.
Well, the thing about micro LED, and because this is like, it's really confusing. Like when we talk about mini LED, micro LED, OLED, all the different MLA OLED, QD OLED, QD mini LED, all of these different things. So micro LED, the big thing about micro LED is it is similar to OLED in the sense of
yes,
it has pixel level control of brightness or being on or off, which is exactly what OLED is. OLED is also a pixel level control of brightness and contrast and color. So once they can figure that out, it's literally the winner.
Yeah, it'll like not
it's
be
just
close.
Everything else doesn't need it. At that point, like mini LED doesn't need to happen. OLED doesn't need to happen because it literally takes the best of both worlds. It's Hannah Montana.
It's the best of both worlds. I don't know the rest.
Then we'll rock out the show. Something bad. Miley Cyrus is cool.
She's all right.
That's rude.
It's just a classic case of an artist, leaning into black culture and then getting popular and then being like, oh, actually, I'm not that anymore because I've grown beyond it. She did it.
You came in like a wrecking ball.
Did it.
Justin Bieber's face tattoos.
Most recently, Post Malone has done it.
Yeah.
Which kind of sucks. That one disappoints me quite a bit.
He's gone away from it? I feel like he's still Post Malone.
No, because the recent album was very like,
yeah, that's
rock
true.
and roll-y singer-songwriter.
Yeah.
He's always had that element.
He has.
But, he went like, well, I'm trying something different now this time. And they all fucking say that every time.
So, you've heard it here first. Danny hates
on YouTube.
White people?
Whoa! Oh my God! All I'm saying is, all the people making all the tech at CES ain't white.
This is true. This is true. Yeah. No.
I'm
See,
playing.
I mean,
I'm playing.
I will say Americans are bad at technology
And
because,
making it,
like,
yeah.
honestly, for South Korea just being one little place,
Apple
and
and
it's
Google
not that
are
big.
Apple, Google, and Microsoft are the exceptions.
Yeah.
And
But like everything else is like basically from South Korea at this point.
mhm.
They're crushing us with like their leaps and bounds. Like it is
Every
so
time.
interesting, like to see. And that I also do think like Hisense is a South Korean company,
Mhm.
right? And their whole thing is like legitimately being like, we want you to be able to have this.
Yeah.
Like more
yeah.
than any other company, like, and I feel like a lot of the South Korean brands that are at CES are in that like the balance of like
well, a lot of them are trying to like take down the Japanese juggernauts.
right, because because that's gotten like a little bit higher
Mhm.
end for everything, and like, you know, like all of the best audio is high end Japanese audio stuff. It's very interesting, like
It's cool, yeah.
with it's just like there's no just straight American companies really in the game at that level that is making like display technology
Yeah, no.
necessarily.
It's
But hey, SVS out of Ohio.
SVS out of Ohio. Shouts out SVS.
So like we got something, I guess, but
they're doing really good. We haven't even gotten to like some real like just raw gaming stuff and PC gaming things. There was a couple of stuff that we saw on the Gigabyte side, which I know Gigabyte has had a little bit of a tumultuous year on the consumer review side of it. But we had a good conversation with them. We got to play early access to The Last of Us Part. I was
forgot
so
about that
excited.
part.
I
That
was
was
so
crazy.
excited. I was so excited.
and technically we accidentally got video of it.
We did. We
They
were
were like,
supposed
turn it
to.
off, and I was like, what?
I'm sorry. They had the whole setup for The Last of Us Part 2, so they had the no return mode specifically. They had the demo going in the game. I'm pretty sure they had the full version though.
It was the straight up
It
game.
was straight up the game. Honestly, played really tight. Here's the thing: The Last of Us Part 2's gameplay you have to master in order to like really enjoy it at the higher difficulties.
Yes.
But once you figure it out, like man, it plays the stuff that you can
Oh yeah,
do in
you
that
were
game
doing
is
really
crazy.
well, and then like I played and like died instantly.
I set it to hard. I was like, I'll just set it to hard for now. It was really cool. I have a separate video for that you can check out. But yeah, just the highlights there. The gameplay I think is super cool.
How many different characters you can potentially play? It was like a list of like 20
it was a lot.
characters.
It was like 12 characters. So you could play Abby, Ellie, Levin, Yara, Joel, Tommy. I'm missing a few people,
man.
but
You're
like
the big-
there's quite a bit.
yeah.
But the different levels are cool because like sometimes it'll be infected, sometimes it'll be human enemies.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's you just have to survive. Sometimes it's you have to like extract.
Yeah.
And so it's like they did say the representative. He said roguelike.
Yes.
Roguelike.
So every run will be different than the last. It's
Right.
not like repetitive. So Santa Monica Studios and Naughty Dog must have collaborated to some degree on like the game design and level design because it's basically taking the Valhalla concept
Mhm.
that have you played Valhalla?
I haven't
yet?
played it yet.
Okay,
but
so
yeah.
I was playing Valhalla and it's like very similar. Like you go through the worlds, like the initial setup is kind of the same, but as you enter the worlds and like the levels, the enemies switch up and all
Yeah.
of that.
I mean, when you played as your section when you were playing, that was exactly a spot of Last of Us 2. You
Yes.
were playing in like the cabin area.
I was playing in the cabin area as Abby in the section where Joel and Ellie's they have the bloater fight.
Yeah.
In one of the flashbacks.
Yeah.
It's just like this is cool,
yeah,
man.
Yeah, it was
It's
cool.
great. Plus, like all the lost levels that we're gonna have access to coming up. I'm personally really excited.
Oh, yeah.
I try to like sneak in like, yo, any chance I can get the WLF version because I want the playing cards or the cards from in the game.
Yeah.
And he's like, whatever you see online is literally all the updated information. Like,
Yeah.
damn it. All right, that's fine. But that was cool. We didn't even realize that they had a bunch of different colorways for the PlayStation Slim, the PS5 Slim. Those were all brand new.
They looked really cool.
They looked nice.
Yeah.
I like the metallic finish. I wish
nice.
I wish they had those covers for the OG PS5.
I mean, technically, you can get.
I know you
custom
can
covers,
get them
but,
custom, but like they look nice. They look really good.
And then while we're on PlayStation, we have our Abby for season 2.
We do have our Abby for season 2 that just got announced. What's her?
Caitlin
Devers. Devers. I think it's Devers.
Or Denvers or Devers. It's hard. Like it's one of those names that it feels like it could be said any way you want. But I will say, I think it's a good cast. I think it's good casting in the sense of I think they have some similar facial structure. Obviously,
it's good.
How do you become Abby? Because Abby is like something that no actress that is like an A-list actress is trying to be unless that's their only thing.
Right.
Like unless they're like an MMA crossover. Because, in Hollywood, actresses are tiny, very, very thin.
Yep.
Like that is just what they do.
It's going to be interesting to see this implementation of Abby, and like we're getting into the last.
We hope she juices. That's what we both said.
Cycle once.
Cycle more than once. It's fine. You got the good stuff.
It's just for foamy.
Get the Chris Evans stuff. Get the Chris Evans stuff. That shit. Get the Chris Evans stuff.
It works.
It works really good.
He was yoked.
Yeah.
He was yoked.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I think it's going to be a cool. I think also it's partly intentional on the HBO and Last of Us team side of things because some people did want her initially as Ellie.
Mm-hmm.
So now that she's playing Abby and knowing what we know about Last of Us Part 2 story, we won't spoil anything here. It's intentionally to make people feel confused feelings.
It's going to be really. I'm really
because I don't know if you can like look at Caitlin Devers and like get mad at her. Like actually, people are weird and they will.
Oh yeah,
but.
Literally,
the normal person is going to be like,
the post on Reddit, 100% of the comments were, I'm so sorry that she's going to have to go through this. Like, not about like how hard it's going to be to film, just how terrible people will be. And just
hopefully
think about
hopefully not.
Don't be, come on.
I will
just
say.
Remember, don't.
I have the minusculest of more faith in a TV audience than in a gaming audience. I'm sorry.
Well, but this is a gaming TV audience, which this is.
But the TV audience has now overtaken the gaming audience. Because the amount of gamers that are like, I didn't like this implementation of The Last of Us. Almost no TV-only watcher has that sentiment. Almost none.
Also, if you have a sentiment as a gamer, you're wrong. It's good.
It's totally great.
Super great.
Shouts
out Nick Offerman.
Nick Offerman got his damn Emmy, dude.
Yeah,
Shouts out. Fantastic episode of television.
Good.
So we're going to be doing a lot. We still got more coverage and more things to do at CES. We scratched the surface on the things that we saw in the last couple of days.
Dude, I mean, I don't like.
It's wild that we're here. It's insane that we're here.
My brain's going to become mush by the end of this. Like, there's so much we're taking in. Like, there's pinball machines. There's arcade, like Ataris. Like
there was this cube Rubik's. Like,
there was a
4x4
there was like a 24 screen Rubik's cube that was also a video game.
It was great.
Like
I love stuff like that.
Yeah, and also like the robot, like the Samsung robot. Like we're getting close to really interesting things, maybe.
Yeah.
But I feel like this is. Still, it's like incredible to be here. We're so pumped that we were able to do this, but I wonder what it's going to be like in a couple more years.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing. Yeah. I think that's what
fun.
Keeps people coming back to see us. You're like, okay, but what's next? What's next?
And some of the people we talked to, they're like, yeah, last year was crazy. This year, more iterative. But people that have been here for a long time and have been here for years and years continue to come back. A lot of them still look excited to be back every year. So I think that's what excites me a lot too, because it's a little bit overwhelming. I'm not gonna lie. It's super so much. It's
There's 120,000 people there. And none of them know how to fucking walk.
There are like 40. Yeah.
Every single person is trying to run into me.
Zero spatial awareness, I will say. For all this spatial computing stuff,
that's what I'm saying.
No one knows it. No, maybe that's why
I think they all need some of that LiDAR shit all the car manufacturers are talking about.
But hey, DMGT podcast is back. We're going to be doing a lot more CES coverage on YouTube, on the blog. Obviously, on TikTok, we have more live ad hoc things going on. So we're going to go get some food because we're hungry and tired, and I got to edit. So it's been a hell of a week. Hey, thanks for watching. If you like this video format on YouTube especially, please let us know and leave a comment.
And also,
for
if
those
you
listening,
think, and if your comment is it looks bad,
we know.
We're at the Rio Hotel. It's not like it's like the fucking Taj Mahal.
Not ideal. And then for everyone else listening, go check it out on YouTube if you want to. You don't have to. We're gonna have clips on stuff.
Bye, Pat.
Bye, Pat. Bye, Jay.
Jay didn't finish
Well,
it.
Jay didn't finish it.